Hey y'all, welcome to Tears and Joy in Your 20s. I'm your host, Julia Light, and I am so glad you're here. Navigating your 20s comes with a lot of highs and lows, a lot of freedom, and a lot of uncertainty. That's why I created a space for conversation about all of it. On this podcast, you'll hear interviews of creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing big things in their 20s telling their story, tears and joy and all. I hope this helps you know you're not alone. There's so much to look forward to, and you can savor this season right in the messy middle. I am so excited to share this conversation with my friend Jaden Dominique. She is a musical theater actress who has had an amazing career already, and today we talk about the challenges of being a college student, specifically a musical theater major during the pandemic, starting a career before college is even over, and having amazing opportunities early on in your career, intermixed with deep personal grief. Jaden is such a light, and I'm so excited for you to get to know her. Here's her bio so you can hear a little bit more before we jump in. Jaden Dominique is a recent graduate of Texas Christian University from Valencia, California. Jaden is currently making her national tour debut as Mary in Jesus Christ Superstar. Other favorite roles include Judy in 9 to 5 at Maine State Music Theater, Celie in The Color Purple at Maine State Music Theater as well, and Dorothy in The Wiz at the Fulton Theater, and Sarah in Ragtime at Lyric Stage. All right, everyone, welcome to the podcast, Jaden Dominique. Jaden, we're so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it is an honor to have you on the podcast. Like I said before, Jaden is currently playing Mary Magdalene on the Jesus Christ Superstar National Tour, which is amazing. She has a BFA in musical theater from TCU, which is also where I went. So we're friends from college, and I'm just so
Yes.
excited to have her on today. Yes, go Frogs. Jaden, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to just talk with you and like catch up. I'm just gonna be
I
great.
know, literally, we were trying to have a quick catch up and then we just ended up chatting so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you're here. So, Jaden, for those of us who were not blessed to go to college with you, can you just tell us your story? You're what,
Yes.
22, 23 years old?
Yeah, 22. Yep.
22, amazing. And you're playing a lead role in a national tour of a musical, which is incredible. You graduated early from college. Like, just tell us kind
I
of this
did.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am from Valencia, California. I started like from the time I can remember, theater and music has just always been around. Like my mom loved it, my grandma loved it, and they just were always around it and will always expose me to it, whether that was like going to see a show in New York or in Chicago or, watching musical movies or whatever that was. I just always really loved it. And so from really small age, I would sing at church doing praise and worship at like 3 years old. Like the
Oh,
mic literally was like, so they would lower the mic to be as low as it possibly could, not turn it on, of course, but I would stand up there with the praise team and it would be like really,
oh,
really tiny. And so my
wow.
like mom and my grandma like realized like I really, really, really enjoy music a lot. So my grandma gave me voice lessons for a long time, like a long time. She gave me voice lessons
Wow.
until I was like probably like 9 years old. And then she said to my mom, like, oh, we need to get her somebody else. Like actually like she
Wow.
needs to have
Yeah.
more training because she's like, I really don't, I'm done. So then my mom got me a voice teacher. And I just took voice lessons all throughout that time. And I don't really remember how exactly. I think maybe we saw either like a Facebook post or I think our town was having a parade or something like that, and the community theater was like giving out brochures for the upcoming show. And the upcoming show at the time was Little Shop of Horrors. And so like I
Oh.
remember like spending so much time like really wanting to hone in on that like song. And so my mom taught me the Little Shop of Horrors, that
Uh-huh.
song. And I we went to the audition, like I was so ready, like I practiced so much. And then we got there and they were like, you have to be 15 and over to audition for this show.
No. And you were what,
I
10,
was like
9?
9. And I like started
Oh.
bawling my eyes out crying. And they were like, it's
No.
okay. They were like, we're actually doing Hairspray this summer, so come back in a few weeks and audition then. And so I prepared what did I sing?
Were you Little Inez?
Yes, I was. I sang what a oh Tomorrow from Annie.
Oh, of course.
And I remember like finding out that I got it. I still remember this so vividly. I was in the bathtub and they put the list out on the website, and my mom ran in my bathroom and was like, Jaden,
Oh,
look. And I got so
oh,
excited. And that was the
that's so
first show I
cute.
ever did. And from then on,
Wow.
I just kind of got bit by the bug. So through high school, I did theater and did all the theater festivals and still did choir and stuff. And then when I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out, like, I was like, I knew that I wanted to do performing arts for my career. I just didn't know if that was just going to be like just music, if that was going to be
Mm.
theater. Like, I didn't know because,
Yeah.
like, my choir program in high school was so, like, involved with the vocal jazz world.
Oh.
And so like I really fell in love with that too. So I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I just realized like ultimately I was really gonna miss theater more. I'm like,
Mm.
I can always put out an EP or something like that.
True.
But I was
It's
like,
true. You really can.
I'm
Yeah.
really gonna miss theater and that training of like acting and dancing and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I'm gonna miss that more. So I ultimately decided to go with that, even though I had auditioned for schools for music and for theater.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and TCU actually happened to be the first school I auditioned for out of like the audition process.
Uh-huh.
And often tell people like it was the only school that made me feel like I wasn't meeting a quota and
Mm.
wasn't just, like, oh, we need this for diversity purposes, but they actually wanted me there because they felt
Right.
that like I could bring something to the school that they hadn't had.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
once I was like, yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. Because it was just like it fell into line. And I still remember my mom saying, like, there was a time I was doing praise and worship at school. I mean, not at school, at church.
Uh-huh.
And my top school was Carnegie Mellon. Like I really, really, really wanted to go there. But
Yeah.
like
It's a great
what
school.
musical theater person doesn't want to go there? Like,
Right.
you
It's a
know?
great program.
So it
Yeah.
really is. And I remember wanting to go there so badly. And my mom said I was doing praise and worship, and she was like, so vividly she heard God say TCU. And that's ended up where I ended
Wow.
up being.
Oh,
So
that's
it
cool.
just kind of wild. And then my time
Yeah.
at TCU was great. And I really appreciated the fact that one, TCU let us do shows as freshmen,
Yep.
but also they allowed us to go outside and do shows at theaters around the area because a lot
Yes.
of programs don't do that, let alone they don't let their freshmen audition, but they surely would not let them go outside.
That's true. And for those who don't
So
know, TCU is in Fort Worth, Texas. So it's near Dallas. There's like, what, you think like 10, 15 professional theaters in the area?
probably there's a lot.
At
There's
least,
like
like,
a
yeah,
lot,
10
a
to, I would
lot.
say like probably 10 to 15 great theaters in
Yeah.
that area. Yeah.
Yes. And so that was like really, really awesome to be able to make connections with local professionals,
Mm-hmm.
who could really teach us things that maybe our professors couldn't, just because they weren't currently working in the business anymore. They
Yeah.
had gone to full academia. But that was like really, really big for me because it opened up a lot of opportunities with, like I said, the creative teams that I worked with and stuff like that. And my junior year of college, we A1s, which is a huge theater conference for those who don't know, for college students, where like theaters all around the country, specifically for their summer programs, they'll come to different schools and they'll audition people to go to another conference in New York where they audition for all kinds of theater companies for their summer
Mm-hmm.
seasons. And so I did an audition at school for that. And one of the guys who was working with A1s also happened to do this program called Link, which is a
Mm.
program through the Growing Studio for college students, college age, to do a showcase, like a 2-week intensive in New York, and then follow it up with a showcase in New York. With some really, really great. So I auditioned for A1s, and through that, they were like, "Hey, would you want to do the Link program?" And like all like literally to this day, I thought it was like this weird shady scam because nobody knew, like it was brand new. So people were like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is this? And Lance, who somebody who went to TCU, actually did it like I
Yes,
think a
Lance
year or two
Jewett.
before
He's
me. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
He's amazing. And so yeah, so I got into that program and it was a 2-week intensive, and I got to, do material for casting directors of Hamilton and Beetlejuice and Waitress and all kinds of
Oh,
stuff. and
amazing.
and one of the casting directors, that casting director who actually cast JCS, actually came and did like a
Mm.
workshop with us. And
Wow.
then the day of our like showcase at the end of the program, I got an email from that casting director saying like, "Hey, there's another tour of this going out. We're continuing the tour, but some people are leaving. Would you want to audition for this?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I
Hmm.
sent in the tape. I didn't hear anything.
At that time, did you have representation? Like, did you have an agent yet?
Not yet. I was
Okay. So
still
you're
like
like
we were
making
like
these
I
decisions for yourself.
yes. So I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll audition for it." And then like a month later, by then I had signed with my agent.
Okay.
So
Okay.
then they came around again and through my agent asked if I would want to submit again. And I at that time I was like, I remember saying to my agent, "They want to see me again?" I just thought like they passed, you know?
Mm.
And so through that I did multiple rounds of auditions. Like I did another tape and then it was like another tape and then I had to go to New York and then I went to New York again and then I had to do another audition in New York and then that was probably like how many have I said by now? It was like 4 or 5, I think.
Okay.
Four.
All
It might
for
have been
Jesus
four or
Christ
five.
Superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 total, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it was like four total, 4 or 5,
Okay.
including tapes. And so I did my final callback, and this was in 2022, like spring of 2022. And
Oh, so you're still in college at this point
yes, I was
because
a
you graduated
junior in
December of
college.
22.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm like still
Oh,
in school, which is like
wow. Okay.
still when I think about it, it's so wild because like I was taping so much, like to the point where it was like 4 or 5 tapes each week, like
Yeah.
taping crazily while still being in school, doing a show, also doing stuff with my sorority. Like it was wild, like when
And
I
you were
think
going to
about it now.
graduate early, so you probably had a lot of extra
It was
classes.
so much going on.
Oh my goodness.
Um
But look how it paid off.
exactly. And so yeah, I was a junior in college, so this was spring of 2022, and I
Wow.
didn't hear anything. But that summer I ended up booking a tour called Emoji Land, which ended up not um going on the road. Like we went through the whole rehearsal process. Our last day of
Uh-huh.
tech, our producers came back and were like, "Hey, we ran out of money, so we're only going to do
Oh,
one city."
so hard.
And so like that was so hard because it was like, "Oh wow, like I really thought that I was about to go on this tour and now like that's not going to happen."
Yeah,
But
very
the
disappointing.
exactly. But then I ended up booking Color Purple that summer as well.
Okay, tell
So
us
I
about
was gonna
that.
yes. So I was gonna leave Emoji Land early anyway to do the Color Purple. And so it was like, yeah, I'm sad, but it wasn't really sweat off my back.
Yeah,
And so I ended up doing the Color Purple at Maine State. And like I said, at this time I still hadn't heard anything from JCS. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, I probably didn't get it. Like I probably didn't get it.
right.
But like
Yeah.
once again, even though I felt so like not defeated, but like really, really sad in a way because
Yeah.
like there was just so much preparation. And part of the reason why I was
Hmm.
graduating early was because, you know, TCU doesn't have anything in place. Like some conservatories have something in place that if their student leaves because they book a national tour, they book Broadway or something like that, they can leave and still get their degree. TCU doesn't have
Mm.
anything like that. So I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, like I have to get all of my core done
Yeah,
so that
wow.
if I leave, they can still make an exception some way, shape, or form where I
Yeah.
can still do my theater classes online.
Ah, which is so smart of you to do.
Yeah,
I'm
because I
so
was like,
glad you did that. Yeah.
exactly. And I was like, I just don't want to be in the position where they're like, actually, you can't graduate. Because, like, I know
Oh.
me, Julia, I don't love school enough to just be like, I'm going to leave and come back. That just
Yeah,
was not.
no. And honestly, Jaden, hopefully, like, you will be too busy to do that with your wonderful career that's already started. So it's so good
Exactly.
that you graduated when you did.
But yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if I don't graduate? And like, it was just a lot. And I think I was upset because I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to take all these classes like in the summer while I was on the road, taking 3 classes online.
You would
Like,
have had to, or you did have to?
no, I did. I did. I
On during
literally took
Emoji
three.
Land?
Yes.
Oh,
I literally
oh,
took three
wow.
classes during like TCU's like June session
Yeah. Oh
and
my
summer session
gosh.
so that I could get things done. And
Yeah.
thank God they finished before I did Color Purple at Maine
Yes.
State because that just would have been so much.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, I did Color Purple that summer, which I did at Maine State Music Theater. And when I
And
tell
who
you that
did
was
you
like,
play?
I played Celie,
You were the star.
which was very, very, it was a very transforming show. I met so many amazing people who I consider like my family and really pushed it really pushed me in a way that I never had been pushed before. I
Like
think
how?
before then I really considered myself as a singer who acts.
Mm,
But through that show, I was like, no, you are an actor. You are more than just your instrument. You are an actor.
mm.
And I think sometimes, especially in the collegiate world, it's very easy to be, they even tell you, like, what are your three? You know, some people are like, I'm a dancer, I'm an actor, I'm a singer, or I'm a
Yeah, you
singer,
put it in
actor, dancer, or
order.
I'm a, yes. And mine was always, I'm a singer, actor, dancer.
Mm.
And I and even sometimes Harry, who was the head of our department at the time, would be like, Jaden, you are an actor. And I just really didn't believe it.
Mm.
And it was like that show that made me really believe, like, you actually do have acting chops that are
Oh,
very good and you need to
yes.
lean on that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that really was proved to myself because I took on something that was very, very heavy. And, I was also the youngest person to ever play that in ever
What? Ever?
in a regional setting, like in a professional setting. Yes.
Oh, because what were you, 20, 21?
I was 21. I had just turned 21.
Wow.
So,
Oh my goodness.
it just, like I said, really proved to me, like, you can do this. And like I said, I just had a group of people around me that were so amazing. People who have been on Broadway and done TV and film and, you know, are associate directors of Broadway shows right now. So it was just so amazing to have that group of people around me and to surround me with just love and support throughout that whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and then I went back to school
For the
for my
fall.
final
Wow.
semester, which was like, Julia, when I tell you, it was kind of torture in a way.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy and like, but it was kind of torture in a way because you work all this time all summer long and learn so much stuff, and then you get back to school and you have like this structured way of working, and you know and it's so hard because your teachers are also like, what are you learning, so that I can also report that to your peers because they're also trying to get
Mm,
information of what's going on outside because like I said, a lot of them
yeah.
aren't actively working anymore.
Right. So you're having to be a student and also like a representative of the professional world to your
Yes, it was just
peers. Yeah,
weird.
that's tricky.
And
Yeah.
like and then so much of your senior year is built around showcase too. And I had already had an agent, so I was like, I'm not showcasing now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole like stress of that is like gone, thank God, because that would have
Yeah.
just been a lot. But it was just weird, and I was like, I'm so ready to leave. I was so ready to leave
Yeah.
because I was just like, I feel like in a way like I've outgrown this place.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I wouldn't have had such a mindset of like I've outgrown and been able to really take in like just the student life of TCU because our schedule of being a BFA is so packed.
Mm-hmm.
You do classes all day and then you have rehearsal and then if you have extracurriculars then you also have to do that. So it's so packed, and like that was the first time I ever got to really be a student, like just
Wow.
a student. And I don't think I really took that in because I
Mm.
was like so focused on like I want to get out of
What's
here and I just want to
next?
work
Yeah.
again, and which is fine, but now here I am working. I've been working consistently since I graduated, and now I'm like, dang, like to go back to a football game just one more time
Oh,
and be a
I
student.
know. Yeah.
Like
Wow.
there are just things that I took for granted that I wish I
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
And who would know? That's why
Like
that's a big one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast. There's just so much when I was in college that I did not know I would miss, or I
yeah.
imagine that I miss college all the time, but just didn't know like what post grad life would look like. And we're gonna get into that
Yes.
more. But I think that's such an interesting perspective. Like you got your dream and then you had to have a pause, go back to college for a
Yeah,
minute,
it was just
and you
weird.
wish you had like made the memories more, but also understandable because you're ready for the next thing. So,
Yeah.
okay, tell us about after college. You graduated December
So yeah.
2022. So coming up on a year, or no, I mean a year and a month.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then through Color Purple, I booked The Wiz at another theater called the Fulton in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then I did that from February through like March. And then I had a week in
Okay.
between, booked another Wiz, and did that
And where was
from
the other one?
in Massachusetts at New Bedford Festival Theater. And then I did that
So
April
fun.
through May. And then I had a month off, and then I booked 9 to 5 at Main State. So I got to go back to Main State where I did Color Purple and do 9 to 5, where I
Wow.
played Judy, which was so fun because it was something that I hadn't done before.
Right. And in The
And
Wiz, you played Dorothy.
Dorothy, yeah.
Yes, just for anyone
Um,
listening who doesn't know.
yes.
Yeah.
um, which was really fun because, like I said, Judy for me was also another teaching moment. And I think that's the things like every role. I somebody said this to me one time, and I'm going to quote them. It was Allison Whitehurst, who also went to TCU
Oh,
some years ago. She said roles have such a way of finding you in the
yes.
place that you're in, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
true because I think for Color Purple for me, it was something proving to me that I could take on something like that. And I didn't think I could. For The Wiz, that show was so much about pacing because I did not leave stage until 45 minutes into the show,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
which that's a really long time to go without water and like you're dripping sweat. Like it was so much
Yeah.
about pacing for me.
Yeah.
And then 9 to 5 for me was also one, proving to myself that I could do a role that nobody who looked like me had ever done. So I found
Wow.
out that
Yeah.
I'm the first Black woman to ever play Judy in a professional setting.
What?
Yes, isn't that crazy? Well, like when you
That's
think about that,
insane.
you're like it's 2023. This show
That
has been
makes
out
literally no sense. People do that show all the
since
time.
early 2000s. Like it had never been done
Wow.
before.
But also very interesting that your career has been so full of firsts already
Isn't that weird?
at the
But
age
also
of
so
22.
exciting.
I feel like there's something there. I feel like that is going to be very,
Maybe,
maybe there'll be lots more exciting firsts to come.
maybe that's the like my lucky number or something like that. One.
One.
I don't know. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so then that was the last show that I did, and then right before this, and so yeah, I did 9 to 5. But for that show, it kind of proved to me like you also can have comedic timing. Like everything you do doesn't have to be serious or
Oh,
dramatic.
you're
Like
very
it's
funny. Yeah.
something different. And I just like I said, it's all like things that you like. Like sometimes you have to do it to realize like, oh, I actually can do this.
Yeah.
But then my agent, right before I went to 9 to 5, we got another email from the casting director who did JCS and was like, hey, we're going on a second leg of the tour, and our Mary's not coming back. Would Jaden be interested?
Oh.
And at first I was like, yes, but I think also my pride and ego was a little bit in the way because I was like, yes, but I don't really do not want to go back and forth to New York. Like I just do not want to have to do all that back
Mm.
and forth because it gets expensive.
Would that be would that be to continue auditioning or would it be to go ahead and have the role?
At first I didn't know. I had no
Okay, so
idea
you're
what that
worried like,
meant.
gosh, I've been through this once. Like I really
Yes,
don't
and it
know.
was like, and I was like a little embarrassed too because I was like I didn't get it the first time, so like I
Mm.
don't want them to see me again and be like, wow, she like hasn't grown at all. Like it was just so much going
Oh,
through my head,
so much mental.
you
Yeah.
know. And so I was like, okay, like I'll do it, but I really like I just don't want to like go be put through the ringer again. And my agent was like, okay. He was like, I think you should do it. Just see what happens. And they were like, okay, can you send a tape of singing I Don't Know How to Love Him? For anybody who doesn't know, that's Mary's like big song in the show.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. And they were like, send it because the creative team hasn't seen her in a year. So I taped it, left it alone, gave it to God. and did not hear anything. And then literally the opening night of 9 to 5, I get an email that says, um, with my offer, asking if I wanted to do
Oh,
it.
oh
And
my
I was
gosh.
like, what? Because I was like, surely, like, they're gonna want to do a Zoom or something, but like that's literally all it was.
That's
And so
amazing.
I finished 9 to 5, went home for a couple weeks, and then basically packed up my life for the next couple months and started rehearsal in New
Oh,
York. So I got to live in New York for a month, and then in September we started tour, and then we've been going since.
oh my gosh. Okay, how did it feel getting that offer? So you're opening a show. You're a
Yes.
first in this show, and is at a theater where you did Color Purple. It's opening
Hmm.
night, and you get an offer to be a lead in a national tour.
Yeah, well, because like I hadn't been on my phone like in hours because like when we were still finishing because like most shows you still do like a rehearsal the day of the show
Mm-hmm.
opening, just because there's might be things that they need to still do.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I just my phone was downstairs in the dressing room. I hadn't looked at anything and we were on a break, and I just so happened to pick up my phone and it was in my email from my agent. He was like, take a look at this and let me know what you think. And I was like, what in the world? Like I was literally started screaming because I was like, what? Like this is craziness. Like I was just so shocked.
Oh, were you
Because
excited?
yeah, I was so excited because like I honestly thought Julia, like I thought like it was done, like it was gonna pass, it was
Mm,
passed by. And I think there's something so beautiful to that. Like when like all the time people would say God's timing is always the best timing. And
mm.
it truly was because I don't know what it would have been like doing this on the road and also trying to do school. Like that just would have been way too much
So true.
for me.
Wow,
And I
that is so true. Because you could have easily gotten it and then not been able to graduate, or just, yeah, like you said, trying to do school remotely.
school at the same time, it just would have been way too much. So I just like I was so grateful that it came around again because, like I said, this show is just, it's so fun and so amazing and
Yeah.
has just been everything I thought it would be and so much more. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, I'm so glad. I love that. Okay, Jaden. So thank you for sharing your journey thus far of your career. It's
You're
been
welcome.
literally incredible. I'm just so excited for you and so happy to hear of all the fun, amazing roles you've gotten to play and just literally thrilled to see what happens next.
Thank
But
you.
I would love to hear a little more about, we talked a little bit about it, how it's kind of weird transitioning to professional life, back to college to
Yeah.
professional, but can you tell us a little bit more about just how this has all been for you, like
Yeah.
emotionally, and just like how not just your professional life, but I mean, you were in the so junior year when you did Link. That's spring of 2021, right? No, 22. No,
22. That's
yeah,
your senior
22.
year.
No, that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, not long before that was the pandemic too, and when
Yeah.
theater was shut down. So can you just tell us like
Yeah.
how it's been? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, well, when the pandemic started, I was 18. So that was my
Yeah.
freshman year of college. And it was our second semester. And I think I still remember to this day my mom calling me, and I was in the costume studio because I used to work in the costume studio at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my mom told me and was like, "Hey Jay, maybe it's not the best time to like fly because I was going home like for spring
Mm-hmm.
break." And she was like, "Because a lot of people are getting sick." And I was like, "No, like." And at that time, I was so ready to come home. Like
Mm.
I when I think about like freshman year and the person I was now versus then, and how much pressure I used to put on myself of being like, not like, well, yes, perfect or wanting to be
Mm.
perfect and feeling like I had to know everything about the business and I had to have it figured out, which like that is so far from the truth at all.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to know everything and you're not going to know everything. So the
Mm-hmm.
faster you learn that, the more you can actually enjoy the things that you are learning.
True.
And at the time, I was just so ready to come home. I was like, it was the first time I had really been away like that, and I was just like, I need to go home.
Yeah.
And I went home for spring break, and one of my best friends from TCU, Demario, actually came home with me,
Oh.
and we spent like spring break together. And I never forget, we went to Universal like the day before, or like 2 days before it shut down, like the shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like nobody there, so we got to ride all these rides and everything like that. And then it was like we're shutting down. And I remember TCU sending that email and saying like, "Hey y'all, like you guys are gonna get an extra week of spring break," which is still so crazy to me that we thought it was gonna be over in a week.
I know, literally, or like a month. They're just,
Yeah, we
yeah.
really thought like it was just gonna be like so quick, and no. And I remember we were, like I said, it was like shut down. But I remember right before that, during spring break, like literally right before they shut everything down, we my mom and I decided to go back to Pennsylvania to visit my grandparents. And because my grandpa was a pastor, and we were like they have a huge like church meeting that happens every spring. And so we were like, let's go back, like we're going to go and surprise my grandpa, because they were having this huge, like having the huge conference, and he was preaching that Friday night service.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, we're going to go, and like all of his kids surprised him, and grandkids. So it was like all of our family
Wow. Oh,
got together.
wow.
And then like literally 2 days after that, they shut everything down.
Wow.
And when I look back on that, I'm so glad that we went, because literally a month later, my grandpa passed away unexpectedly. Like it was,
Oh.
Julia, when I tell you, like it was the strangest thing ever that could ever have happened,
Mm.
because like he wasn't even sick, Julia, and it just happened out of nowhere. And
Oh,
I
I'm
know,
so
like, and a
sorry.
lot of times people ask, like, was it COVID? And it wasn't COVID, but it was like in a way a product of COVID, because
Mm.
hospitals didn't know what was going on, and they were
Mm.
just trying to figure out what was going on with people who were really sick. And in a way, I feel like he was neglected a little bit.
Oh, so
And
sad.
so I think just it was just a lot, and he passed away. And
Yeah.
so like at that time, me and my grandfather was so close. Like
Mm.
Julia, I talked to him every day, like FaceTimed him every day,
Really?
all the time,
Wow.
like every day. Like we were like this.
Wow. Oh.
And so like, and I told my mom, I was like, I used to say all the time, like, that's my best friend. Like, he is my best friend, like, in the whole
Mm.
entire world. And to be cooped up in your house with all these people being sick, and the person that you like love so much being gone, and having to have to deal with that, and there's no escape, was just like really hard, because like I just kind of
Yeah.
had to sit in my grief in a way, and like I had to
Yeah.
deal with it, because there was nothing else to distract me.
Right. And even the thing you're majoring in, you're doing college online and your
I
major is
can't do it.
theater and Broadway is gone. Like Broadway is
Like
closed.
it was just like, what
Yeah.
is going on? And so
That's
like that
so
summer
hard.
was just like
Yeah.
so rough. And like it was just like, what in the world? Like what in the world? And so then I turned 19 that summer. And then we came back to school, and they're trying to make it work.
Yeah, that was
My
tough.
sophomore year of college, they're trying to make it work. We're having Zoom shows, and you're like, what is a Zoom show?
I know.
Like,
Theater
what?
does not belong on Zoom. It was
Like,
terrible.
it just didn't work.
It was so, they were
And
trying so hard, but yeah, it's just such a
they
hard time.
really were
Yeah.
trying really hard. And then over the next span of the next couple months, like my family got hit pretty hard with just like other deaths in our family, whether that was a
Mm.
cousin or, it was just so much. And like one of my cousins who I was really, really close with passed away, and she was only 20.
Oh, oh,
Once
I'm
again,
so sorry. Yeah.
unexpected.
Wow.
Like, and so here we are now, just not even a year had passed since my grandpa had passed away.
Wow.
Another great uncle had passed away, another cousin. It was just like so much
Mm.
happening.
Oh,
And I remember being like, what is going on? And
yeah.
I I like remember going back to school and being like, I don't want to be here at all. Like I do not want to be here.
Mm.
And thank God that they still had the Zoom option because like I remember there was one week because I was having my own health issues too. And I was just said to my mom, I was like, I have to come home. Like I cannot be here
Yeah.
anymore. Like I
Yeah.
have to come home. And like I said, once again, during that time, I happened to go home. It just something in me was like, you got to go home.
Mm.
My cousin, her husband, and their 2-year-old son were driving home from church and got hit by a
No.
semi truck, literally on their way home from church, and all of them passed away.
Oh, Jaden.
And I was so grateful to be home in that moment because, like I said, I honestly was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, this is just too much. My depression
Too
was like
much.
on 10. My
Mm.
anxiety was so bad. Like, and I never
Mm.
really dealt with anxiety before. And it wasn't until like these like series of like tragic events were happening where my anxiety was so
Right.
bad and I just like could
Yeah.
not sleep, could not do anything, like could not
Mm.
sleep, could not do anything. And like even school was so hard. And
Yeah. School.
like
Mm. Yeah. During
things
that
that
time
were
was really.
easy were so hard,
Yeah.
you know? So I I remember just being like, I cannot do this anymore. Like I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore. And saying to my mom, like, maybe I just need to come home. Like it was just so, so bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sophomore year finished and I remember just being so like happy to be done because I felt like I was being
Right.
suffocated.
Yeah.
So it was just like thank God it's like just over.
Mm.
And then that summer I was just home the whole entire time and I nannied the most sweetest little boy in the world
Oh.
who really like honestly in a way brought so much joy back into my life because
Mm.
it was just a lot. And so
Yeah.
caring for him was just like so amazing. And I still am so close with him and his parents to this day. And I
Oh,
every time I go home, I go and see him and stuff like that.
that's
Like he's just
amazing.
like my child in a way.
Yeah.
But like I said, just brought so much joy in that summer. I also did frog camp and
Yeah,
stuff like
frog
that. Like
camp.
there was just like I said, so many things that just brought me joy that
Outside of
weren't
theater, which is really interesting
outside of
because
theater
you had to. There
that
was no theater. Yeah.
there was nothing. And so it was just really amazing to be able to have that and then have that summer to just kind of recenter myself. But also during that time, I was like, I need to go to therapy because I need to talk to somebody about this because our whole family was like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
it was like, and I remember explaining this to my voice teacher, Angela Turner Wilson, who I love to death.
Yeah.
I was telling her it felt like we were on a clock, like a grief clock. And every
Oh,
time that happened, it restarted. So like nobody really knew how to catch their breath because it just kept happening. It kept happening, kept happening.
yeah, literally. Yeah.
So it was just like this is so much.
Hmm.
And but I like I said, I remember coming back my junior year feeling like this is going to be a really good year. I'm not going to try and carry over the things that I went through last year, but it's just going to be different. I get to live in a house
Mm.
with 3 people that are amazing and that I love and it'll be great. And it was completely different. It was
Wow.
like God was like, I'll give you double for your trouble. Because
Wow.
that's how it
Double
was.
for your trouble.
It was like so
Yeah.
much had been like made
Mm.
up in a way. And I think my cousin made one of the a great comment one time and he was doing a speech because he got inducted into I'm so rearing off but I promise it'll make sense in a minute. He was doing a speech because he got inducted into his hall of fame at his high school
Oh.
and he was saying how he was like my grandparents who were so influential in all of our lives and he was saying how like their prayers that they prayed so much over knowing that they would not be here to see them come true, but to
Mm.
know that we are living the prayers that they prayed are
Wow.
just so amazing. And that like hit me like a truck because I was like,
Mm.
my grandparents have prayed over me and my family so much, and for them to they I feel like in a way they knew they wouldn't be here to see some of this stuff,
Wow.
but to be able to know that, like I said, those prayers that they prayed are now why we are living the lives that we are
Wow.
just so beautiful. And like I
Yeah.
said, truthfully and confidently, that is why I'm where I am, because of the
Yes.
prayers that my family and friends have prayed over me, and all the words that have been spoken over me and stuff like that.
Wow.
That is why I am where I
That's
am.
beautiful.
So yeah, it's really hard for me to not be like, it's like, yes, I have been in the right place at the right time, but it's also like I was put in those places at the right time as
Wow.
well by
True.
something
Yeah,
so
you
much
can't
bigger
take the
than me.
credit.
So I'm like,
Yes.
I cannot take any credit for any of this.
Right. And you don't. Yeah,
Be
you don't. You're
Yeah,
so
because
humble. Yeah.
it is so above me.
Yes.
It is
No,
so
it
above me,
is.
you know.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Can you tell us about
You're
like,
welcome.
because if someone met you now, they'd be like, wow, this girl, like, she's a star. She is amazing. And she's done all these cool shows and she just graduated college. But you, and now all of us get to know, like, you have walked through some extreme grief and hardship
Yeah.
in recent history, like in your late teens, early 20s. So, how does that impact the way that you view life now? Or what do you think you maybe learned during that time? Or, not
Yeah.
to tie it up with a bow, but just how has that impacted your life that you're living now?
Yeah, I think it has made me be so intentional about life and being really
Mm,
intentional about the relationships that I have with people, and really making sure you tell people that you love them. Like
mm,
that sounds cliche, but it is so important to tell people you love them. If you really love somebody, you better tell them you
yeah.
love them, because tomorrow is not promised to anybody. So it is so important to really spend the time with the people that you love and tell them that you love them. But also, I think you had one of these questions on your intake form, and it was like, what is something in your childhood self that you see in yourself
Yeah.
now?
Yes. I love thinking
And
about that.
I love that question. And I think one of the things that I love that I've been able to keep from a small little girl is my optimistic look on life. And
Wow.
I think
Yeah.
as we get older and we go through things like grief and breakups and depression and all this and
Mm-hmm.
rejection and all this kind of stuff, it's very easy to get tainted by life.
Yeah.
And I think those circumstances that I've gone through have, in a way, I had to like flip my mindset to be like, yes, that was awful, but there's only up from here. And it's made me
Yes.
have even a
Mm-hmm.
bigger optimism on life, because I'm like, Lord, I trust you. Like, especially with this whole
Mm,
situation with JCS, like like I said, it could not have been anything further from my mind at the
mm,
time.
yeah.
But it's like, Lord, I trust you because you have not failed me yet, and I know you're not going to.
Wow.
So I
True.
can't worry about a story that has ultimately already been written.
Yeah.
So like I said, it has had such a effect on me, but in a way of like just looking at life in a different way,
Yeah.
and just seeing how like it's just like everything is just so bright. The future is so bright, and there's so
Wow.
much that can happen still. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. I love that. And I think it is such a gift of having, again, such deep grief, but seeing things that came up in life that you didn't expect, seeing things, realizing like you can't control all the
yeah,
circumstances around you. And we know that as actors because you just never
you
know.
just can't. You never know.
I do think that's such a gift because some people really do. And, they learn things in different ways, but some people really do, after college, they get this perfect job and then like they don't maybe realize till later on in life, oh, there's a
Yeah,
lot out of my control here. And so in a
yeah,
way, it is such a blessing to be faced with that reality of like, I'm very optimistic. I'm so excited, but I'm going to hold this loosely and just
yeah,
trust that God has something bigger. And
exactly.
I don't know what that is right now. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I have no idea, but we'll see. Like,
Yeah. Okay, Jaden, a couple more questions for you as we're wrapping up. What keeps you grounded during this time? Not only you're literally on tour, so you're moving what every
Yes.
week,
Oh my
but
gosh. Yes.
also your life where you're like, I'm 22, my career just began, and I have no idea what the rest of life looks
Yes.
like. And that's exciting, but also kind of crazy. What keeps you well? What keeps you grounded?
My family and the Lord. Like literally.
Mm,
I could not do half of the things I do without them. Like literally it's my family and the Lord. Because like I said, there is just so much that is out of my control, especially when I'm in a different city all the time. Like
yeah.
sometimes your allergies act up and your voice is not voicing the way you want it to. And it's just like
Hmm.
it's out of my hands. I can't think about it.
Yeah. So what does that look like? Just like texting family, calling them,
Yeah,
asking them
we
to pray,
so
like,
my family, we actually have a family group chat which we started back during the pandemic, and
uh-huh.
it's literally all my aunts and uncles, some of their spouses who are in it as well, and
Oh,
their kids, like all their kids, and like some of my
amazing.
cousins' spouses and stuff like that. So it's like over 30 people in this group chat. So we text all the time, like all throughout the day.
Oh, so
We have
fun.
like a family prayer too that happens with like my immediate family, but also like my grandma's side of the family too. And that's like I
Wow.
think once a month too that we'll do all together. And like all my cousins on that side will also do that kind of stuff as well.
Wow.
So like that is really what keeps me grounded. Like having them and being like close to them, and like they'll call me sometimes like when I'm getting ready for the show. Like my cousins will FaceTime me and we'll just talk while I'm getting ready and stuff like that. And it's just moments like that because like I said, like I'm on the move so much, and it's also not as much time as I have to like be like, oh, I'm gonna go visit,
Right.
you know, you know, my family in Pennsylvania and stuff like that. Cause sometimes I just don't have time.
Right. Of course. You're on
So
tour.
yeah, so it's like it's just nice to have those check-ins with them and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what about, like you said, the Lord gets you through? What
Yes.
does that
And
look
then
like for
like
you in your faith?
yeah, so I do like I have a devotional that I started doing like with this year because I was like because I don't have as much time to go to church anymore every Sunday
Mhm.
because sometimes we have two shows on Sunday, so there's just no
Yeah.
time. I started doing like a daily devotional, like a Bible study by myself, and like carving out time to have like prayer time and stuff like that, whether that be before I go to bed or, when I wake up in the morning and stuff like that. And just really taking the time to like recenter myself in the Lord because there's just a lot going on in the world and it's easy to get
Yeah.
distracted by other things. So
Uh-huh.
it's just nice to, excuse me, have that like one on one time just with
Yeah.
me and him, and then that be who all it is. So
Wow. I
that's
love
been really
that.
great.
That's so good. Yeah, so grounding. I can imagine. I mean, I relate, but yeah, on tour, I can imagine that's a lifeline for sure.
And it's crazy
Um,
on tour. Oh my gosh.
yeah, but so it can be so refreshing to have that time um
100%.
with God. Okay, Jaden, last question.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to? You have your whole life ahead of you. Your
Oh
career
my
just
gosh.
began. What are you looking forward
Julia,
to?
I genuinely don't, I have no idea, like everything, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I just, because I often say, like, I know, like, some people are like, oh yeah, like, yeah, Broadway, like of course, yes. And I would love to do another tour again. Especially because I just really love being able to see the travel and see the country and see
yeah,
places that I've never
yeah.
been.
So cool.
But also just like I really want to do TV and film as well.
Ooh.
So I think it's just like if I was taking a test, it would be like C, all of the above, like
Yeah.
everything. Like I don't know what it's gonna bring, but I'm just so open to it and really excited for what this next chapter and next season is going to be.
I love that. Such a good
Yeah.
answer. Yeah. I mean, get your hopes up, girl. Who knows
Yeah, I'm just like,
what can
I don't
happen?
know.
I love
Yeah.
it. And I just want to share, I have a little form that I have podcast guests fill out. And
Yeah.
before you wrap up, I want to share
Yes,
this
please send it to me.
quote that you put on here. It says, for some, performing is a hobby, and for others, it's a calling.
Yeah.
And you shared that, and I just think that it's so true that and that's how you live your life and you steward that. You're like, this talent that I have isn't for me. It's
Yeah.
it's for something bigger, and you gift others with your performances and your heart and the depth you bring. So
Thanks, Jules.
Of course. I love ya.
I love you too, and thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Oh, of course. Thanks for coming. It's been such a joy. Yeah. Jaden, where can we find you if people want to follow along
Yes,
on your
you can find
journey?
me on Instagram and Facebook at Jaden.Dominique. Actually, on Facebook, I think it's just Jaden Dominique. And on TikTok, it's Jaden.Dominique. I
Amazing.
do have a YouTube page. I need to update that. So you might not want to go on there. And
And
then I
now go
also
on
have
YouTube.
my website, jadendominique.com, which has like all of our cities and stuff for the tour.
Oh,
So
great. Great.
if you are in
Yeah.
a city that's
Oh, yes.
close, then
Go
you should
see
come.
Jaden. That's amazing. Oh, yes. That's so fun. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Jaden, for this
Thank you.
conversation and have so much fun on tour. Do you have a show today?
Yes, but not
Oh
until
my
7:30.
goodness. Oh, yeah. And it's early where you are. Well, break
Yeah.
a leg tonight.
Thanks, Jules. See you
Thanks,
later.
Jaden. Bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe and download Tears and Joy in Your 20s wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Tears and Joy Podcast and send this episode to a friend. We'll see you next Thursday.